Day 6. Okay, it's Monday, May 17th, 2021. It's been a really good trip. We just got to Bakersfield the night before. Uh, got to sleep early as usual. I wanted to get going early to get to Joshua Tree. And so that's no problem like we usually do. I was up at 7 and Quinn a little bit later. We took our showers and we were out the door probably by 8. And Quinn decided he would like to get some coffee because from McDonald's because he had said could get it for free. And he said he wanted to get something special. He wanted to get a cappuccino. And so we were looking for the McDonald's and plugged it into Google, and it's supposed to be a mile away. And it ends up and I like to call the Google Maps person who talks to me, Googleina, and she has her own personality, and sometimes she listens to me, sometimes she doesn't. But she decided to take us on a little bit of a trip and out of the way, and it took about 20 minutes to finally find McDonald's. Okay, I spent more time in 20 minutes in Bakersfield is 30 miles on the highway. So we got a Quinn got his coffee, I got my Diet Coke, and off we went. Okay, we got on the expressway. Um, at this point, we're not no longer on the big highways. We're going to be going on smaller highways as we go here, and this one is you start to cut through over some of the high hills and into the desert valleys, and so it's the environment starts to get interesting, but not interesting at the same time. It's starting to get warm. The thermometer in the car says its temperature is going up, and by midday or around it'll be around 80. But so off we went, and we were driving, and we drove, and we drove. And we drove through, got on to 247 and drove through the desert, and it was pretty. It was interesting because as you look both sides, it's just flat desert. Okay, and there's hardly any towns. We went by the town of Borax, which I guess is the place where borax is mined. I just remember the commercials back in the 60s. I think it was Ronald Reagan. They did them for borax out in the mountains. Maybe he did it there, and I forget even what borax is used for. I think for like cleaning or something. But anyways, not much to see out there. There's a Edwards Air Force Base, but you can't see it. I mean, it's somewhere around there, but you just see that there's the name for it. All right. So we drive through it, and at some point there's some motorcyclists. My peer group, I like to call it, even though they're not, because kind of different. We're same age. All right. So that's what I mean. And a lot of my peer group gets motorcycles and ride them across the country, which sounds like fun. And but I don't have the desire to do so. I'd rather be driving my car. Okay, at least I think. I haven't tried the motorcycle thing. Um, Maybe bicycle, but I don't know. I'm fine. Just go along with the ride, and at some point they get kind of. I'm starting to. I don't drive. Not driving 90 miles an hour like them, and they kind of come up behind me and then zip around me, and it's some of it starts it's hilly, and so it's hard for and winding, so it's hard for them to pass me because at some points when you go up, it's not a good idea to pass on a hill or around a corner. So they eventually pass me, but that's it. And went through tiny towns, and you just wonder how these people could live because you don't see any water, and uh, but there's these tiny little towns, and so fairly uneventful, but it's cool watching all this scenery. So finally, we're getting closer to Joshua Tree. Now that's our destination for today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to the national park and do whatever it is to do there. I don't know. I didn't even look up Joshua Tree. I just knew I wanted to go there, and Quinn was okay with that. And so we get in about noon into the town that's nearby called Yucca Valley. And Quinn, it's about noon, and we haven't eaten anything since last night. And so Quinn looks up for place to eat, and he looked up. He wanted to get Mexican, and both of us didn't want to get anything heavy, just in case we wanted to do some hiking around. So he found a little taco place, and it said that they had tacos. And so it was he. So we looked around for it, and it said it was in this little mall area, and we couldn't find it. And finally, we find it, and it was called El Guero. And so we parked there, and it's a really small store, and it's in a little mall type area, and it's maybe 40 feet by 40 feet. And we sit down, grab the menus, and I look at the menus, and Quinn's looking at the menus, and we're both looking for the tacos because that's what we wanted to come for, and we couldn't find them. And there's no section called tacos. So, and there's burritos, fajitas, and other things, but there's no tacos. So a girl comes over and says, I say, hey, where's the tacos? She goes, oh, I don't know. I guess she just got hired there. And so she goes away, and then I go, where? So did you find out where the tacos is? She goes, they're in there somewhere. Something like that. And I just go, I don't know what she just said. And then Quinn finds them, finally goes, they're right here. We're dumb, okay? And so we find the tacos. And there's a list of different things that the tacos are made of, and these will be like street tacos, and that's the best kind. So so there's a list of different things in all in Spanish. We sit there and we ask what each one is, and Quinn is interested in the one that has to do with intestines. And I asked the waitress, I go, which one do you like? And she said I think is El Porto. And I go, what's that? She goes, pork. And I go, okay, well, I got that. Quinn got the intestines. And they came back. We ordered 2 apiece. And they were really good. They were really, that's the street tacos. We have the soft shell tortilla. And have the meat, and then with the cilantro. And here's my cat. And onions. You done? You gonna keep talking? Okay. You're part of the talk here. All right, I guess he's done. All right, so we're okay. So we have our tacos, and we set out to find Joshua Tree, and I see a place in town that says Joshua Tree National Park Visitor Center. So I go there, and there isn't really much there. So I grab a map. I kind of look at it, and it says go up the road. Okay, about a couple miles, and so I drive up the road, and up is up. So it's not real steep, but you're definitely driving up. I wish I would have altimeter to find out our height is altitude as we go along on these drives, because that would have been interesting. So we get get up top, and the app I had said it was busy, and I had kind of worried about that. But we got up there, and oh yeah, so when we were down at visitor center, there were some young folk there, and I said, no, know anything about it? And they go, kind of. I go, does it cost anything to get in? They go, well, no, it should be free. It's a national park. And I go, I guess you don't know your national parks. Okay, well, so we drove up. We went to, we got a ticket to get in. It was $30, and so I didn't know. I looked at the map, and the map, basically there's a road that you follow, and then on either side of the road there'll be little paths that go off, either for hiking and every once in a while for driving, and there were places you can camp. But mostly there's a main road. You just drive one main road and you drive through it and you look at it. And it didn't seem that long, and so I'm thinking, I hope we get get out and walk around and sort of enjoy this place, because $30 is $30. And so we got going, and right off the bat, is the place started to show its spectacularness. All right, the Joshua tree is a very interesting tree. It looks like it has arms, and it looks like it's a cactus tree that reaches up, and it looks like there's 5 or 6 arms reaching into the sky. And I used to think that the name Joshua tree was called the Joshua tree because it looks like it's going to reach out and hug you, okay, like maybe Jesus would. And Joshua and Jesus, same name. So I later found out that maybe, no one's really quite sure why it is, but they think it has to do with the Mormons, thinking that the trees, when they came in the 1800s, came into this area and saw all the Joshua trees. It looked like an army, and they said it was Joshua's army. And for those who don't know who Joshua is in the Bible, look him up. He's one that blew his horns and knocked down Jericho. Okay, but anyways, these trees are spectacular, and they're all around. It's amazing. It just looks like there's just this forest, but it's not dense. Okay, they're spread out, and it's desert, and it's flat. Okay, I mean where they are is flat, but there's hills all around us. And then there's these giant rock formations that are just really cool. They look like they had been, like they've been pieced, that they were pulled apart from each other, but they look like they were smooth where they were pulled apart. And you'll see the pictures on the slide that I have here. Take a look at them. And they're all really cool, and I looked up the chemistry, how it works, and it's really how they form, and it's really cool chemistry. It's basically what happened was the water had gotten into the rocks, and it had a chemical reaction with some of the rock. This is granite. The rocks are granite, and it turned some of the rock into clay, and the clay would fall away and would leave the rest of the rocks. So there's magnificent rock formations all along, and they're part of the backdrop of the Joshua trees, and also the sky. You have this blue sky, and you have these clouds that are big clouds that go over the valley and the mountains there, and it adds to the whole landscape of this place. And there's all these little tiny kinds of cactus, and you may think that it's unspectacular because of the desert, but when you start looking at the things and how they are, you get a sense of how nice this place is, and the temperature is going up. It's in the 80s now. Um, so we're driving along, and we drive through the Joshua Tree part and this rocks part, and then we get, and it takes about, and we get out. We did a little bit of hiking, not a huge amount of hiking. We just sort of explored the rocks and the ecology that was going on here at several spots. And we drove out of the. Then we got to the spot where there was no more Joshua trees, and then the rocks became kind of different. They became darker colored, and all of a sudden, I looked at my map, and it said the end of the park was another 50 miles. And it said it would take about an hour to do. And I go, well, and I looked at it, and I go, and I see that at the end of the park, we could hop on the highway, and it'll take us to the place we're going to stay tonight. Which I looked at earlier, is that it's from the end of the park to San Diego, where we're gonna leave from tomorrow. It's 3 hours, and I don't want to drive 3 hours tomorrow, or I don't want to ride 3 hours tonight. So what I decided is I was gonna drive as soon as we got out of the park. We were gonna drive, which I figured it'd be about 3:30 or 4. We would drive another 2 hours, and I picked a place, and it's called Temecula. And it ends up about hour from San Diego, which was perfect. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But as I was looking at the map, I thought to myself, let's just drive all the way through and see what's there. And we get to the top of this, we get to the end of the park, and then we realize that we're kind of high up, because as we look out, we see this giant valley below us, and it looks like it's 30-40 miles wide, and then on the other side of this desert valley is these mountains, and it looks like it's quite a ways down. So we drove down, okay, and the rocks are kind of the same way as they are before. And then we get to the bottom, and then we're in this desert area, and it's called the Pinto Basin. And and it's another 20-30 miles driving through this, and it's really cool. All right, it's because you're driving through this valley. The temperature goes up to 90 degrees. Now, and this is May. Now, can you imagine May or August? All right, it's probably in the hundreds. There's not much vegetation. There is some. Pulled off somewhere, and they said that there's rattlesnakes, and there's actually tortoises out there as well. And there's some trees, but no Joshua trees. But we end up driving through it, and it was nice that we did it. I'm really glad that we did it. And we get to the end of it, and then I stopped at the park ranger's exit point and see if I could find any. And they said that you just drive down the road and you get onto major highway I-10. And so we did that, and we were on the I-10 by 3:30, 3:45. So it's part of the trip is that we come in and see something and try to get as much as we can on it, but move on. All right. So the goal is to get to Temecula, and that's 2 hours away. And we get on to I-10, which is a major highway, and we head west, south. So no, basically west. And as we're going, we start to get busy. Then at some point, we looked in front of us, and it starts to get windy, but it's kind of an odd wind because you just feel the car moving around, and you start to see the trees on the side blowing away, and then you see in front of you, maybe I don't know, 10 miles or so. You can see the wind turbines that fly, and then you can see these giant mountains on the left. Okay, and they're mountains. Okay, because they have snow on them. And then we go drive into this valley, and this is where all the wind is, and next to the mountains. But it's well populated where we are. I guess it might be around Palm Beach. I don't. I don't. There's nothing. I mean, if I sat down and looked at things, I would have figured it out. But it was pretty cool because it was obviously there must be the wind all the time coming from, I imagine, there must be winds that just slide through this. So this valve through these between the sort of the tunnel of these two channels, I should say, channel between these two mountain ranges on our left and right, and they come flowing through, and it brings in fog, and so we saw this giant fog in front of us. And I was wondering if we are going to actually be driving through fog. It looked really foggy, like in 10 miles in front of us. And we kept going, and never went through fog, but it was there, and it was windy. And then at some point we got past that. It must be the point where you go from one side of the one valley on one side of the mountains over and on to the other side as you go through this pass. And then as you go through the pass, and then it kind of gets into highways, then as things excuse me, I had a little thing in my throat there. Just kind of what I remember regular highways, but the thing is nothing's really regular about these highways since we left San Diego. I mean, we left San Diego up to LA, the highway's kind of flat. No, there weren't very many hills. But once we got out of LA, all highways, there was ups and downs and some windy stuff. And traffic is decent. It's not crazy like I thought it would be. All right. So we keep driving. So the goal is to get to Temecula, and like I said, it's a 2-hour drive. And we get there about 5:30, and we get to our hotel. And get situated. And as usual, when we get situated, we start to think about dinner. And Quinn starts looking for a place to eat. And I guess we're not sure, and he's having a little bit harder time to decide on what he wants. And when I was checking the room, I saw that this is a wine valley, and I saw that they had some breweries around. And I thought, well, how about this? We'll go to a brewery, and so that has a restaurant. And so we found this place called Karl Strauss, which was a mile and a half away walking. Because we wanted to walk, because if we had a couple beers, we didn't want to be driving. So we started to walk, and at some point, I said something about this isn't like this is going to be a longer walk than what we did at somewhere else, and it's more than. And Quinn thought I said it's a half mile, okay, and we get out about a mile, and to walk, and we have to cross these major roads, and it starts looking a little bit dicey in terms of walking across these roads. And Quincy goes, I thought you said a half mile. I go, no, I said a mile and a half. And oh, okay. Well, when we got to this corner, after a mile, I see there's another brewery on the corner right there. And I looked it up, and it has a restaurant, and it was called BJ's. And I go, how about we just go over there? And so we do that. And so we come to this brewery, and they have outdoor seating. And we sit down, and Quinn asks, is they have they have their own beer, and Quinn wants to know what kind of beer to get, and I told him, well, you said you like dark beer, you might want this, and he wasn't quite sure about it. And I said, how about this? It's a anyways, it's a wheat beer. And he goes, what's that like? I go, like Blue Moon. You ever had that? And he goes, yep. And so he ordered that, and I had a stout, and it was good. And then we decided to get pizza, and then we had a little bit. They had a half off on their large pizzas, so they were normally $30. And there again, this is a place where you have a QR, and you scan the QR, and your menu pops up on your phone. And we look at the pizzas, and I'm thinking, I see there's 5 meat, and I think Quinn would like that. But I'm going, usually the meats they have, 5 meat there's going to be spicy meat, and I don't want to have that. And plus, it's going to be, if it's deep dish, it's going to be soaked in tomato sauce, which is okay for some people, but it's okay with me, but it makes me sweat, all right? And I wasn't real happy about it, but I could see there was nothing else that really would satisfy Quinn, and I go, okay, let's get the 5 meat. All right, so we got the 5 meat and got into it, and it was none of that. Okay, it wasn't spicy at all. Okay, I guess California doesn't know how to make deep dish pizza. All right, but that's okay with me because I didn't sweat. All right, then we got done with dinner, walked our way back home, and I don't think we did any stopping or anything. We just talked, had great talk, and Quinn's easy to talk with. We have similar ideas and philosophical thoughts about things. Being younger, he definitely has different view of world. And me, I got an old crusty mind that's kind of stuck in ways, I guess. But even though I don't think so, I probably do. But we talked, and it was great. And so we got back to the hotel, and we were in bed by 9 o'clock. And because tomorrow is going to be our last day, it's going to be a long day. We'll be getting home about midnight now. And so kind of want to get rested up for that. All right, on to day 7.